hopefully you will discover some of the singing birds, the seabirds, the lions, the tigers, the cattle, the horses, the dogs, and you might even also discover the dragon that is in one of them. We're also here at St Martin's especially fortunate to have one of our windows, just there in the south aisle, dedicated to St Francis. Because of course we hold this service on the nearest Saturday to the feast day of St Francis, the 4th of October. And St Francis is the Christian saint that we celebrate for many, many things, one of which of course is that he saw birds and animals as his brothers and sisters. St Francis didn't live in a jungle or a city as we do, but he did believe that all of God's creation belonged to one family, much as is depicted in our stained glass window there in the eastern part of the church. Because that depicts Psalm 148, which is this wonderful, wonderful picture of the whole of creation coming together to worship God. And St Francis preached that human beings and animals were made and are loved by the same God. No person and no creature were worthless, were unclean, or unimportant. And one day on a road, he met a man with leprosy, which of course you all know is a disease which in the Middle Ages meant that people were deemed to be outcasts because everybody else was terrified of catching it, because it could cause terrible damage to skin and bones. And instead of running away, as was the usual outcome in those days, Francis didn't. Francis took the leper in his arms and kissed him. He also came across, of course, a town that was being terrorised by a wolf that was attacking livestock and people. And according to the story, Francis found and spoke to the wolf and explained to the people that he was hungry and desperate, and that if they provided him with food, he would then do them no harm, and that they would be able to live together in harmony. And so the townspeople listened to Francis and gave the wolf regular meals, and from then on he became tame and friendly and lived out his days as a sort of town mascot. Now, whether or not that story has been improved by the telling of it over the many, many centuries, it does show us, though, a lot about St Francis' attitudes. As far as St Francis was concerned, animals were not enemies to be defeated or resources to be exploited, but they were brothers and sisters to be cherished. And human beings should find ways of having positive relationships with them. So why should Christians care about them? Why should we care about creation? Well, because cherishing creation and all that it contains is the way in which we show God our gratitude, the way in which we humbly acknowledge our creatureliness and our part of being in creation. And it's also an important way in which we worship. And I think the sisters in Russia are a wonderful example of this. And it's fantastic that we have this link with them. Here we are in this world city, and we have this link with this group of professed religious sisters, Orthodox sisters, some 200 miles out in the country from Moscow. And it's wonderful that we are able to both have this connection and this relationship with them, but also to be able to support them as well, and to support their work and ministry in animal welfare in that place. And if you're able to, please feel free to leave something in the plate as you leave, and all the money that is collected today will be donated to them. And as James did sort of allude to, it's been quite difficult to get that money to them over the last couple of years, but we have managed it. And the wonderful thing is that it goes so much further there and really helps them in their work. So it's wonderful that we can do something so practical. And as well as being, if you like, a sign and a symbol of our part, playing our part in creation, we're able to support them in living out St. Francis' attitudes there. So let's pray. Oh, and I should just say that if you haven't or don't know that much about them, then James has put these wonderful displays together with photos of some of the work that they do and some of the sisters, and an amazing story as well of one encounter that they had with a baby bear, Misha, as well. So please, during tea and coffee, you're very welcome to stay on for tea and coffee refreshments at the end of the service. Please have a look at the display. And as I say, please have a look at the stained glass windows and see if you can spot any of those animals that I mentioned. So let's pray.